Here's a professional principle. I get asked, how do I not take things so personal? How do I not let what people say really affect me? And the answer to that actually is, if you don't want to take the negative things that people say personally, you also have to stop taking the positive things personally. Because if we're willing to take compliments to help us feel good, well, then by nature, you're going to have to be able to take criticisms that make you feel not good or feel bad. And you learn this kind of as a therapist, and most therapists can attest, because you could be a really good therapist, but sometimes you just have clients who just don't click well and they get really offended or whatever. It happens. I mean, there's no therapist that's had like every client be like a rock star. You just don't click with everybody, and that's okay. And so the problem is, in therapy, you can't really use, if you can't use sales like a business, like, hey, our profits are up, we're doing really well, surveys are up, you can't really use that because it's not feasible. So what I would say is, if you're going to let people's compliments say, okay, this is why I'm good at what I'm doing, or this is why I am who I am, then you're going to have to take the criticisms as well. But criticism and compliments are two sides of the same coin. And I use the word coin because of this idea of this transactional relationship. If all I ever do is chase for compliments, then then you're going to have to take both sides of that coin, which is those criticisms as well. And if that transaction is what actually helps build your value, then you are going to go bankrupt at times. You are going to be broke at times where you're not getting compliments and you are getting criticized. If you don't find something outside of that transaction of criticism and compliment to define you, then you are always going to take things personally. And it doesn't mean that you don't appreciate when people give you compliments, right? Whether it's my students who come up to me after a semester and say, hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't ever say, oh, no, I don't take compliments. You take them. And I always say, I appreciate that, or thank you so much for expressing that. You always receive that. Don't deny somebody what they want to express to you, right? But even though that it's a nice compliment, I appreciate it, or even a criticism. I've gotten those too. And again, try to take it with grace, but don't put that in the jar of what makes you you. You have to actually really do some real digging on yourself to figure out who you are, and continuous digging throughout your life to really establish who you are for yourself. You have to self-define in many ways. And for some, that can be really hard, because it's like, well, I don't know who I am if I don't have my job, or I don't know who I am if I don't have all this praise, or all these followers, or all these different things. And that's where I think is why people struggle so much to um, to take things personal, and that's where you get your people pleasers from. If you're a people pleaser, it's because you're chasing somebody to give you this definition that you're good, and it's an exhausting way to live, and it's just not sustainable. You're gonna burn out so quickly and get very resentful towards people. But it's not just about, oh, well, I'm not going to let what they say bother me. You have to take it. You also have to save seats for your critics, because they're also going to be in the stands, and if you don't leave room for them, then they're going to come very unexpectedly, and it's going to feel like they're not supposed to be there, but they are. But Brene Brown also said, I don't give really much weight, or she doesn't give much weight to those who are in the stands spectating. She gives it to the other people in the Coliseum who are actually in the fight that she's in. And for me, I use that a lot with, whether I'm teaching my students or with my clients. I know I always say about 10% of them are going to absolutely hate me. Like, they're going to hate the way I teach. They're going to hate who I am. They're going to hate what I have to say. I just assume that's just part of the process. There's no way I can be the best teacher for everybody. Everybody's going to love me. No way. Jesus didn't even have a perfect track record of everybody who he taught that loved him. So why would I be any special? And then I always have a small group who are going to be really supportive, the loyalists who are just, going to help sustain, really give that comfort. And then there's the 80% of people who they don't dislike me, they don't love me, but they just, okay, good message, right? Um, and I think you that's how I always typically approach anything. I never assume everybody's going to like me, because to me, if everybody likes me, then I'm doing something wrong. And I'm not trying to offend people. But if everybody loves what I do or loves what I say, then I would consider myself a people pleaser, because not it. That's just unreasonable to think that. So if everybody loves what I say, that probably means I'm not being true to my message, and I'm probably being true to everybody else's opinion. But if I do have a select few who are like very outspoken or just really don't like what I have to say, then I know I am being true to myself, and this is a fair game type of thing where people can criticize me and that's okay. But at least I know it's kind of a way to say, okay, I'm not just giving what the crowd wants. I'm actually giving something that is from me to them, and we go from there. So that's my little, I guess, formula. If everybody loves what I have to say to 100%, I'm doing something wrong. So that's the difference on criticism and compliments and how you don't take things personal. Stop taking the positive personal. Define yourself. Find out who you are by digging into your life and looking at who you are and self-defining. At that point, you're going to find that for yourself.